We wanted human technology. What we got was our worst nightmare. The lights of Seoul flickered as the massive shadow passed overhead. People stood frozen in streets, on rooftops, in office buildings. All eyes turned skyward at the sleek, silver vessel that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the afternoon sun. It wasn't the first Cory ship to arrive, but it was certainly the largest. Lee Min sat at his desk in the Korean Defense Ministry, watching the live feed with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. 6 weeks had passed since the first contact, and the world had changed forever. The aliens called themselves the Cory Collective, and they had come with gifts and requests. "Sir, Ambassador Tae's shuttle is preparing to land," his assistant said, placing a tablet before him. "The welcoming committee is assembled." Min nodded, straightening his tie. As head of technological exchange, he'd been thrust into the spotlight of humanity's greatest diplomatic challenge. The Cory were fascinating, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their moods. They moved with perfect economy of motion and spoke with precise, measured words, and they wanted our technology. "Their biology is remarkable," Dr. Park had told him last week, eyes bright with excitement. "They've mastered cellular regeneration, eliminated disease. Some of them claim to be over 300 years old, but their technology, it's advanced in some ways, primitive in others." The Cory had perfect biological harmony but technological stagnation. They could travel between stars but relied on biological computers that grew rather than improved through innovation. They couldn't understand humanity's constant drive to build better machines. Illogical inefficiency, Ambassador Tae had called it during their first meeting. Yet somehow it works. At the landing pad, Min joined the group of officials. The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing Ambassador Tae, his skin shifting between blue and green, and his assistants. Among them was Sue, the youngest Cory in the delegation, whose skin frequently flashed with colors the others rarely displayed. "Minister Lee," Tae said, bowing slightly. "We bring greetings from the mothership. Our council is pleased with the initial exchanges." "As are we," Min replied diplomatically. "The medical advances you've shared have already shown promising results in clinical trials." They walked toward the conference center, passing crowds held back by security. Some held signs welcoming the aliens. Others warned of invasion. Min noted how Sue watched the protesters with particular interest. Inside the secure conference room, screens displayed the latest exchange proposals. The Cory had offered treatments for cancer, Alzheimer's, and other diseases in exchange for microprocessor design, artificial intelligence algorithms, and weapons technology. "We're still concerned about the military technology requests," General June said bluntly. "Your explanation about these deep void entities remains vague." Tae's skin rippled slightly. "We understand your caution. The void entities destroyed 2 of our colony worlds. They do not communicate, they simply consume. Your projectile weapons and explosive ordnance concepts are foreign to our development path. We believe they would be effective." Min noticed Sue shift uncomfortably, behind Tae. Perhaps, Min suggested, we could arrange a demonstration of non-lethal defensive technologies first. The meeting continued for hours. Afterwards, Min found himself alone in the hallway with Sue, who approached hesitantly. "Minister Lee, may I ask something unofficial?" Min nodded, curious. The younger Cory seemed different from the others. "Your art museums, I visited one yesterday. The painting, they serve no biological or technological purpose, yet humans dedicate tremendous resources to creating them. Why?" The question caught Min off guard. "They feed something else. Our souls, our need for beauty and expression." "Expression of inefficiency," Sue said, but without the dismissive tone the other Cory used. "Yet I found myself affected by them." Before Min could respond, Tae appeared at the end of the hallway. Sue's skin flushed orange briefly before returning to the standard diplomatic blue. That night, Min couldn't sleep. Something about the exchange bothered him. The Cory offered miracle cures while asking for weapons. They spoke of distant threats while establishing facilities near major military installations. His phone buzzed. A message from Dr. Park. Need to meet. Found something in their medical tech. Not sure who to trust. Min stared at the ceiling, watching shadows from the Corey ships passing overhead. They wanted human technology, our computers, our weapons, our innovation. But why did a species with such biological mastery need our primitive tools? What weren't they telling us? As dawn broke over the city, the massive mothership shifted position, casting a shadow directly over the defense ministry. Min couldn't shake the feeling that they were all missing something important, something that might be their worst nightmare. 6 months had passed since the Corey ships first darkened Earth's skies. What began as cautious exchanges had blossomed into full integration. Minister Lee Min stood at the window of his office, watching as a Corey transport vessel glided silently between Seoul's skyscrapers. These sights, once extraordinary, had become everyday. "The latest reports, sir," his assistant said, placing a tablet on his desk. Min scrolled through updates from around the world. Corey medical centers had opened on every continent. Their treatments were nothing short of miraculous. Cancer vanquished, Alzheimer's reversed, lifespans extended. His own mother, once bedridden with late-stage pancreatic cancer, now tended her garden daily. But the exchange went both ways. Human technology was transforming Corey society. Their ships now incorporated human-designed propulsion systems. Their communication relied on Earth-developed encryption. Their defense systems featured human ballistic principles. They're learning quickly, General June had remarked last week. Too quickly, perhaps. Min had dismissed the concern then. Now, reviewing classified satellite images of a massive Corey installation on the dark side of the moon, he wasn't so sure. The facility had appeared practically overnight, and the Corey had been vague about its purpose. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Park. "Results confirmed. We need to talk. Not here. The old fishing spot. Midnight." Min frowned. He hadn't heard from Park in weeks, not since she'd started working directly with the Corey medical team. Her messages had grown, increasingly cryptic, then stopped altogether. The ministry said she'd requested transfer to an international research station. It hadn't seemed like her. That evening, Min drove himself to the small lake outside the city where they used to fish years ago, before alien ships and impossible choices consumed their lives. Park's car was already there, parked under the shadow of old pine trees. She sat on a weathered bench, looking out over the still water. "You look tired," he said, sitting beside her. "I haven't slept properly in weeks." Her hands trembled slightly as she passed him a small device. "Turn off your phone. This scrambles any other signals." Once he complied, she continued. "I found something in the Corey treatments. Microscopic constructs, biomechanical in nature. They told us they were temporary healing facilitators. Aren't they? The treatments work. Oh, they work beautifully." Park's laugh held no humor. "But the constructs don't dissolve. They migrate to the nervous system and establish permanent residence. They're designed to interface with human neural pathways." Min felt a chill despite the warm night. "For what purpose?" "I don't know yet. They remain inactive after initial deployment. But they're there, Min, and everyone who's received treatment, millions of people worldwide." She pulled out a small vial of cloudy liquid. "Including your mother." "I'm sorry." Min stared at the vial. "What is that?" "A countermeasure, maybe. It's experimental. I've been working on it in secret since they reassigned me. It might disable the constructs without harming the host." "Why would they?" "I don't know," she interrupted. "But I've seen things at the research station. They're keeping technologies isolated. The medical advances go to humans, but military applications stay with them. And they're particularly interested in our nuclear facilities." The surface of the lake rippled as a night bird swooped low. Min thought of Ambassador Tay's smooth assurances about defense against the mysterious deep void entities, enemies no human had ever seen evidence of. "There's more," Park continued. "Patients who've received treatments report strange dreams. Shared dreams. Some experience behavioral changes, Subtle ones, like altered food preferences or sleep patterns. Could be side effects, Min suggested, though he didn't believe it. Side effects that make humans more like Corey? Their food preferences, shifting toward Corey-compatible nutrition? Park shook her head. This isn't coincidence. She handed him a small drive. Everything I've found is here. I'm leaving tonight. There's a group of scientists working off-grid. We think we've located a Corey communication hub in the Himalayas. If we can access it, maybe we can learn their true intentions. You should come to the ministry. We can protect you. Use official channels. No. Her voice was firm. We don't know who's compromised. Those constructs could be in anyone who's received treatment. Half the ministry staff, maybe more. Later that night, Min sat alone in his apartment. The data drive connected to an old computer with no internet access. What he read turned his blood cold. Park's findings were thorough and methodical. The Corey weren't just offering medical technology. They were deploying a sophisticated biological network, linking treated humans together in ways that defied understanding. Most disturbing was a pattern Park had identified. The Corey had prioritized treating military personnel, government officials, and infrastructure specialists, people with access, people with power. Min's phone rang, a secure line from the ministry. General June's voice was tense. We've lost contact with 3 missile defense installations in the last hour. System failures, they say. The Corey ambassador is requesting an emergency meeting. Through his window, Min could see the mothership. Had changed position again, now hovering directly over the city center. Lights pulsed along its hull in patterns he hadn't seen before. I'll be right there, he said. As he gathered his things, his mother called from the guest room. Is everything all right, son? He paused, looking at her, healthy, whole, and possibly carrying Corey technology in her brain. Just work, Mother. Go back to sleep. Her eyes caught the moonlight oddly as she nodded, reflecting back with a faint iridescence he'd never noticed before. The rain fell in sheets across Seoul as Min rushed into the Defense Ministry's underground complex. Security protocols had been heightened overnight. Soldiers checked IDs twice and body scanners hummed as he passed through. The atmosphere was tense, with staff moving quickly and speaking in hushed tones. 3 more missile defense systems. Went dark an hour ago, General June said as Min entered the crisis room. Maps on the wall displayed blinking red indicators across Asia, Europe, and North America. Similar reports from our allies. The Corey claim they're investigating. Where's the ambassador? Min asked, accepting a cup of coffee from an aide. Returned to the mothership. Left his assistant, Sue, as liaison. June nodded toward a corner where the young Corey stood quietly, skin rippling with subdued blues and grays. Min approached Sue, noticing the alien seemed agitated. Any news from your superiors? They are consulting, Sue replied. These failures concern us as well. The deep void entities could exploit such weaknesses. Min studied Sue's face. After months of interaction, he'd gotten better at reading Corey expressions. You don't believe that, do you? Before Sue could answer, Min's secure phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Dr. Han here. Park sent me her research. Meet me in server room B, urgent. Han, Park's colleague from university. Days. Min excused himself and made his way through the labyrinth of corridors. Server room B housed older systems, kept separate from the main network as a security precaution. Now Min wondered if that separation might prove crucial. Dr. Han was a small man with tired eyes and restless hands. He barely looked up as Min entered, continuing to type furiously on an ancient-looking laptop. I can't stay long, Han said. They'll notice I've accessed these systems soon enough. What did you find? Han turned the screen. I continued Parks. Research in secret. These are brain scans of treated patients taken over time. The images showed tiny points of light, growing more numerous in each scan, forming intricate patterns throughout the brain. The Corey medical constructs self-replicate slowly. Eventually, they form a complete neural network overlaid on the human one. Han clicked to another image. This is from last week. The networks are becoming synchronized across different patients. People who've never met share identical construct patterns. Min's mouth went dry. What's the purpose? Control, maybe. Or something worse. Han pulled up another file. I hacked into military medical records. Officers who received treatment show subtle behavioral changes afterward. Increased compliance with Corey suggestions. Decreased skepticism about their motives. The enormity of what Han was suggesting hit Min like a physical blow. How many people have been treated worldwide? Nearly 200 million, including most senior military and government officials. Han's eyes met Min's. Did you receive treatment? No, I was scheduled next month. Good. Han handed him a small device. Park's countermeasure shows promise, but distribution is the problem. We need access to the Corey medical facilities. A sudden commotion erupted outside. Shouting, then the sound of running feet. Han quickly unplugged his laptop. They found me. Take this and go. Find Park's team in the Himalayas. Coordinates are encrypted on this. He pressed a thumb drive into Min's hand. What about you? I've backed up everything. Go now. Use the maintenance exit. Min hesitated only briefly before slipping out the back door. Behind him, he heard the main door crash open, followed by Han's calm voice. Gentlemen, how can I help you? Min made it to the parking garage before the alarm sounded. The entire building was going into lockdown. He reached his car just as his phone rang. General. June, where are you? June demanded. The Corey mothership just activated some kind of energy field over the city. Communications are failing. Listen carefully, Min said, starting his car. The Corey medical treatments, they contain neural interfaces. I think they're activating now. Don't trust anyone who's been treated. Silence then. That's most of the command staff, including me. Min froze. When were you treated? 3 months ago. Kidney cancer. June's voice changed, becoming oddly flat. You should return to the command center, Minister Lee. The situation requires your presence. Min ended the call and drove toward the exit, mind racing. As he approached the security checkpoint, he saw the guards' faces. Their eyes had the same faint iridescence he'd noticed in his mother's, a subtle glow that wasn't quite human. Thinking quickly, he grabbed his phone. Security override Lee Alpha 6, he said loudly as he approached. Ambassador Tay requires my immediate presence at the landing zone. The guards hesitated, then stepped aside. Their movements seemed coordinated, almost synchronized. Once clear of the complex, Min headed not for the Corey landing zone but toward the mountains outside the city. Park's team would have answers, or at least a plan. The roads were strangely empty. And as he drove, emergency broadcasts began to pop up on the radio. Citizens are advised to remain calm and stay in their homes. The Corey Collective has announced a temporary safety protocol in response to detected deep void entity signals. All treated individuals should report to their nearest Corey Medical Center for Protective Measures. Min switched off the radio, hands tight on the steering wheel. The deep void entities had always been convenient fiction, a threat to justify the Corey's interest in human weapons technology. Now it was being used to gather the treated humans together. At a remote gas station, Min pulled over to check Park's coordinates. As he did, a shadow fell over his car. Looking up, he saw a Corey shuttle hovering above, its scanning beam sweeping the ground. His mother's face flashed in his mind, healthy but changed. Not just her eyes, but subtle shifts in her personality. Her sudden interest in astronomy. Her new habit of standing on the balcony at night watching the mothership. The truth hit him with devastating clarity. The Corey weren't technological innovators but biological ones. They hadn't come for our technology, they'd come for us. 200 million walking hosts, now carrying Corey neural interfaces in their brains, and whatever those interfaces were designed to do was beginning now. The mountain cabin looked abandoned, its windows dark and yard overgrown. Perfect camouflage. Min killed the engine of his battered truck. He'd abandoned his government vehicle days ago. And waited, watching for movement. 3 quick flashes from an upstairs window signaled it was safe to approach. 2 weeks had passed since Sol fell, under complete Corey control. 2 weeks since the integration revealed its true nature. The neural networks inside treated humans had activated simultaneously across the globe, turning millions into proxies, not mindless zombies from horror films, but something more disturbing. They maintained much of their personality while serving Corey interests with absolute conviction. The cabin door opened before Min could knock. Dr. Park looked thinner, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion, but her grip was strong as she pulled him. "Inside. You made it," she said, leading him through a living room where maps and equipment covered every surface. "We were getting worried." The basement revealed a surprisingly sophisticated operation. Computers ran on old technology, nothing newer than 15 years, nothing connected to modern networks. A dozen people worked at various stations, monitoring communications, testing, equipment. "Welcome to what's left of the resistance," Park said. "We're using tech too old for the Corey to easily interface with. Radio, analog systems, even typewriters." Min recognized some faces. Scientists, a few military personnel, engineers. "How many groups like this exist?" "Maybe 30 worldwide that we know of. We're in contact with 12. Park introduced him to a stocky man checking rifle ammunition. "This is Captain Yoon, formerly Korean Special Forces. He got us military supplies before his base was compromised." Yoon nodded grimly. "Most of my unit received treatments. When the signal came, they turned on those who hadn't. I barely escaped." "What exactly happened?" Min asked. "The news broadcasts stopped making sense after I left the city." Park led him to a wall covered with photos and notes. The Corey activated the neural network simultaneously. People who'd been treated immediately accepted a new reality, that the deep void entities had arrived and the Corey were protecting humanity. They reported to collection points willingly. And then, Phase 2 began. Park pointed to blurry photos showing people being loaded onto Corey shuttles. "They're taking them to processing centers. We managed to infiltrate one briefly." Her voice tightened. "They're not killing humans. They're changing them." Satellite images showed massive facilities constructed with impossible speed. "The Corey are biological engineers, not mechanical ones," Park explained. "They've stagnated because they evolved their technology rather than build it. But they envy our innovation, our creativity, our capacity for illogical leaps that lead to breakthroughs." "So they want to steal our technology?" Min asked, struggling to understand. "They want to steal us," Yoon interrupted. "Our brains, our creative capacity. The treatments were Phase 1, creating biological interfaces. Now they're taking the next step." A young woman approached with a tablet. "Dr. Park, we've decoded more of their transmissions. The mothership is preparing for arrival." "What mothership?" Min asked. "They've had ships here for months." "Not like this one," Park said grimly. "According to what we've intercepted, the real mothership carries the entire Corey collective consciousness, millions of them stored as pure data. They plan to download themselves into human hosts." The revelation hit Min like a physical blow. "They're not invaders. They're parasites. Symbiotes, they'd say." The voice came from behind them. Min turned to see Sue, the young Corey diplomat, emerging from a side room. His skin was dull gray, lacking the iridescent shine of health. Min reached for a weapon, but Park stopped him. "Sue defected. He's been helping us understand Corey biology." Sue approached slowly, hands visible. "My people believe this is a fair exchange. Your bodies for our knowledge. They see humans as brilliant but inefficient, beautiful minds in fragile, emotional shells. They want to improve the design." "By stealing our bodies?" Min demanded. "By combining our consciousnesses?" Sue's skin rippled with shame. "I disagree with this plan. It is theft, not exchange. I brought information when I escaped." "Captain," Yoon led them to a table where a detailed model displayed a massive Corey vessel. "The mothership will enter Earth orbit in 3 days. It carries the digitized consciousness of the entire Corey species. Once it arrives, the mass transfer begins." "We've developed a countermeasure," Park said, showing Min a device the size of a small radio. "Based on my initial research, improved with Sue's help. It disrupts the neural interfaces, breaks their connection to the Cori control signal. The problem is distribution, Yoon added. We need to broadcast the signal globally to free those already under control, and we need to stop the mothership before the transfer begins. Min thought of his mother, his colleagues, millions of unwitting hosts awaiting Cori consciousness. What's the plan? Park smiled thinly. We've located the main broadcast center controlling the neural network. It's in the old television tower in Seoul. If we can take it over and transmit our countermeasure signal, we can free the treated humans. Meanwhile, a second team needs to infiltrate the landing site being prepared for the mothership. Suicide missions, Min said quietly. Pretty much, Yoon agreed. But we have one advantage they don't expect. Sue, show him. The Cori led Min to another room where people were working with strange hybrid technology, part human, part Cori. Your scientists are remarkably adaptable, Sue said. They've reverse-engineered some of our biological technology, created weapons the collective won't anticipate. That night, unable to sleep, Min stepped outside. The stars were bright above the mountains, no city lights to dim them. Somewhere up there, the true mothership approached, carrying millions of alien consciousnesses ready to take human bodies as their own. He thought again of his mother, standing on their apartment balcony, staring at Cori ships with that strange iridescence in her eyes. Was she still in there somewhere? Would the countermeasure restore her? The cabin door opened behind him. Park joined him, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the night chill. We leave at dawn, she said. Yoon thinks we have a 20% chance of success. Min nodded. Better odds than I expected. The Cori made one fundamental mistake, Park said, staring at the stars. They studied our technology, our biology, our history, but they never understood our capacity for sacrifice. They don't comprehend fighting for lost causes or impossible odds. It's illogical, Min said with a small smile. Completely irrational, Park agreed. And it's our greatest strength. Dawn broke over Seoul, the sunrise nearly hidden by the massive shadow of Cori ships. The once bustling city moved with eerie precision. Citizens walked in perfect lines toward collection points, their eyes glinting with that now familiar iridescence. Above them all, the ancient television tower stood like a sentinel, its peak modified with alien technology that pulsed with blue light. Min adjusted his maintenance uniform, trying to look as blank-faced as the controlled humans around him. Beside him, Dr. Park blended in with similar vacant expressions. Their small team of 5 approached the tower's service entrance, each carrying toolboxes that contained weapons and equipment rather than tools. ID check, announced the guard, his movements mechanical but his eyes alert. The neural interface hadn't eliminated intelligence, just redirected it. Min presented his forged credentials. For a terrifying moment, the guard studied them closely. Then the man's eyes unfocused slightly as he processed the information through his altered perception. Proceed. The guard stepped aside. Maintenance level 3 requires attention. Inside, they moved quickly through service corridors. Their intel, provided by Sue before he left with Captain Yoon's strike team, indicated the broadcast center was located on the 18th floor, now heavily modified with Cori biotech. Timer check, Park whispered as they entered a maintenance elevator. Min glanced at his watch. 2 hours until the mothership enters atmosphere. Yoon's team should be in position at the landing site by now. The elevator doors opened to chaos. Unlike the orderly scenes outside, the broadcast center buzzed with frantic activity. Cori technicians moved between consoles where human operators sat with metallic filaments connecting directly to their temples. The walls pulsed with living technology, membranes that processed data through biological means rather than digital. Keep your heads down, Park murmured. Remember, we're just maintenance workers addressing climate control issues. They split up as planned, each moving to different sections of the floor. Min approached a ventilation panel, tools in hand, watching as Park made her way toward the central processor, a massive column of swirling biotech that dominated the center of the room. Time slowed to a crawl, Min worked deliberately, planting small devices disguised as routine maintenance parts into the building's systems. Each contained components of the countermeasure, designed to activate simultaneously when triggered. A sudden commotion near the main entrance made him freeze. Two Cory guards dragged in a struggling human, not blank-faced like the controlled ones, but wild-eyed and fighting. Another resistance member, announced one guard, found attempting to access the lower levels. A Cory supervisor approached, skin shifting to deep purple. Perfect timing. The collective wished to interrogate one before arrival, prepare the neural extractor. Min continued working, pulse pounding in his ears. They couldn't blow their cover, not even to save one of their own. The plan depended on complete surprise. His earpiece crackled softly. "Team 2 in position," came Captain Yoon's whispered voice from the landing site miles away. "Mothership has entered upper atmosphere. It's enormous. Like nothing we've seen before," Min acknowledged with a subtle tap on his communicator. He'd finished placing his devices and now needed to reach the rendezvous point where their trigger mechanism would be assembled. As he gathered his tools, a voice stopped him cold. "Min? Is that you, son?" He turned slowly to find his mother standing behind him, clipboard in hand, eyes glowing with that unnatural light. She wore a Cory supervisor badge. "Mother," he managed, keeping his expression blank. "I'm performing scheduled maintenance." She tilted her head, studying him. Something flickered behind the glow in her eyes. Recognition, confusion, struggle. "You shouldn't be here," she said finally. Her voice sounded strange, layered somehow, as if two beings spoke through one mouth. "This sector is scheduled for consciousness transfer preparation. All non-essential personnel must evacuate." Minde nodded stiffly. "Of course, just finishing up. I'll escort you out." She gripped his arm with surprising strength, steering him not toward the exit but a side corridor. Once alone, she leaned close. "Run," she whispered, her voice suddenly her own again. "They know. The resistance member they caught, he had the plans. They know what you're attempting." Min stared in shock. "Mother? Are you—" "Still here. Buried deep, but fighting." Her eyes flickered between the alien glow and her natural brown. "The neural network, it's not perfect. Strong emotions can break through temporarily. Love. Fear." She squeezed his arm painfully. "You have minutes at most before they lock down the building." Before Min could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. His mother's eyes glazed over again, the Cory control reasserting itself. She reached for a communication device at her belt. Min made a split-second decision and struck, catching her with a sedative injection hidden in his sleeve. He caught her as she collapsed and dragged her into a storage closet. "Emergency," he hissed into his communicator. "They know we're here. Activate now or we lose everything." Across the facility, Park acknowledged. "Moving to Phase 2 early. Get to Extraction Point C." Min sprinted through suddenly chaotic corridors. The controlled humans moved with new purpose, searching for intruders. Above, the ceiling trembled as smaller Cory ships took defensive positions around the tower. He reached the central processor room just as Park finished attaching their devices to the pulsing column. Two Cory guards lay unconscious nearby. "Ready?" she asked, not looking up from her work. "The mothership's almost here. We won't get another chance." Park nodded grimly and activated the trigger. The devices throughout the building hummed to life, connecting to form a network of their own. The countermeasure signal began to build, using the Cory's own broadcast technology against them. "Now we run," Park said, grabbing her pack. They fled toward the emergency stairwell as the first wave of energy pulsed through the building. Throughout Seoul across the world, the signal propagated through the Cory network, reaching every neural interface, disrupting their control patterns. On level 12, they encountered the first awakened humans, confused, disoriented, but with clear eyes. The countermeasure was working. "What's happening?" a young woman asked, the alien glow fading from her eyes. "Head downstairs," Min directed. "Get as far from Cory technology as possible." Outside, The sky darkened as the true mothership entered. Low orbit, a behemoth that dwarfed all previous Corey vessels. It pulsed with life, an entire civilization contained in one massive biological computer, ready to download into human hosts. Min's communicator crackled. "Team 2 to Team 1, Captain." Yoon's voice came through, backed by the sound of weapons fire. "We've infiltrated the landing site control center. Sue is reprogramming their guidance systems." The tower shook as Corey ships fired upon it, trying desperately to stop the countermeasure signal. But it was too late. The pulse had already gone. Global transmitted through their own network. Min and Park reached the evacuation point, a maintenance door that led to an external service elevator. As they descended, they watched the mothership hovering over the city, its surface rippling with confused patterns. "Yoon's team did it," Park said, pointing to the massive ship's erratic movements. "They've redirected the landing sequence." The mothership shuddered visibly, caught between commands. Smaller Corey vessels scrambled around it like disturbed insects. "But the neural interfaces," Min said. "Even if humans are free from control, what's to stop the Corey from trying again?" Park smiled grimly. Phase 3. As if on cue, the freed humans began to fight back, not physically, but through the very network the Corey had established. The neural interfaces worked both ways. Millions of awakened minds suddenly pushed back through the system, flooding Corey biotech with the full spectrum of human emotion and irrational thought. The mothership convulsed as the hyperlogical Corey consciousness tried to process this chaotic input. Sections of it began to darken, systems failing under the assault of human emotion and contradiction. "They never understood us," Park said as they reached the ground. "They saw our technology, but not what drives it, our chaos, our irrationality, our contradictions. They wanted our innovation without understanding its source." Around them, Seoul was awakening. Confused citizens stumbled through streets, free of alien control but disoriented. Emergency services, also freed, began to respond. Min's communicator activated one final time. "This is Yoon. Sue has done it. The mothership's engines are rerouting. He's sending it back to deep space." Above, the massive vessel began to rise, movements jerky at first, then with increasing speed. Smaller ships followed in its wake, retreating from the unexpected human counterattack. "And the interfaces?" Min asked. "According to Sue, they'll break down naturally now that the control signal is gone. Their biology isn't compatible with ours long-term without maintenance." 3 days later, Min stood on the balcony of his apartment, watching the cleanup efforts below. His mother sat nearby, wrapped in a blanket despite the warm evening. The neural interface was dissolving slowly from her system, leaving her tired, but wholly herself again. "We should have known better," she said softly. "Nothing that perfect comes without a price." Min nodded, watching as a small Corey shuttle descended toward the International Coordination Center. Not all Corey had retreated. Sue and a few hundred others had chosen to remain, offering to help repair the damage and build a different kind of relationship. "They still want our technology," Min said. "And we could still benefit from their biological knowledge. But as equals this time," his mother replied, with eyes wide open. In the distance, the television tower stood partially dismantled, its alien additions being carefully removed. Engineers were studying the technology, learning from it without succumbing to it. The stars appeared as darkness fell, no longer threatening but once again full of possibility. Somewhere out there, the mothership drifted, its consciousness fragmented but not destroyed, changed perhaps by its brief contact with humanity's chaotic brilliance. Min smiled slightly. They had wanted human technology and got something entirely unexpected. Human unpredictability, human emotion, human defiance. Our worst nightmare, it turned out, was theirs.